Hello there guys, Feng here and welcome back to Pro Gamer Manager. Okay, this is going to be the more critical side of this particular video series. So this is more aimed at the devs about how I feel the game is extremely unfun at the moment. You know, there's definitely some things that need to be addressed. There's three major concerns after the game. The first one is the lack of tutorial. Now I understand that, you know, the game's in early access, not all features are done, you know, there's going to be bugs and glitches and whatnot, but the lack of tutorial is very annoying because of the second point I'm about to make, the lack of information and lack of feedback that the game offers. This is basically in every single menu. You basically get no feedback about what you're doing, basically. It's really annoying. We'll actually address these separately a bit later on. The third major concern is the game pacing. There's actually, I'm not even sure if this is even a bug or not, but currently, if you was to play the game, if a new player was to play the game normally, you know, get credits, get fans, get experience for the champions and whatnot, they will come across a research that I actually can't show you at the moment because I had to bloody restart the Sunning game because the game didn't save properly. But there's a research that allows you to basically open up the games room. Now it's actually quite cheap to get very early on. It only requires, I think, 70 EP and 400 fans, which is quite easy to get very early, especially once you can start streaming. It does cost a little bit of money to get this games room, but it doesn't cost a lot. You can get it fairly early on. And the major problem with being able to get that very early on is you can actually trap yourself and screw yourself over. Because as soon as you buy that games room, you will no longer be allowed to go back to your house. And you get access to new options, but you don't get access to the old options. So you don't get access to stuff like playing solo FOBA or watching streams or streaming. Basically stuff that makes money. You will not get access to it. And as soon as you get into that games room, you're going to need a lot of money, a lot of capital. The game doesn't explain at all, or anything information or anything like that, that you should start off with a lot of credits before you even attempt going to the games room. New players are just going to buy it as soon as they can afford it. It's as simple as that. They don't want the new shiny things. And it's going to screw them over because in the games room, the only way to make money, to make credits, is advertising, merchandising, and sponsorships and stuff like that. But those cost money to begin with. The only other way they can actually earn money is via winning tournaments. And supposedly this is a bug, but the tournament is currently bugged. The league's bugged on a lot of games. I've actually looked on forums about this because I've experienced it as well. The league is just not popping up ever. And it's annoying because obviously that's probably one of the main ways to actually make credits is to win tournaments with your team. And teams aren't cheap. You know, it costs quite a decent amount of salary to keep good teams, you know, afloat. So if you don't have the capital to at least get the advertisements and sponsorships and merchandise and stuff to at least slightly sustain you, then you're screwed. And the game doesn't even tell you that. It's lacking in that regard. It's very lacking in information. I mean, when I first got thrown into the game, I was like, "What the fuck is all this?" You know, I was trying. I suppose it was my own fault for trying to play it like Game Dev Tycoon, but there's so much resemblance on it, and it's very clear that they took some aspects of it. But at the end of the day, the one thing that Game Dev Tycoon did well is actually gave you feedback. This game doesn't. It gives you feedback in a way that it's not useful to you at all. Okay, I'm going to go through each individual kind of things, and we'll talk about what the problem is with each individual tab. Okay, so watch FOBA. So the first thing I see here is you see how they play and learn from it. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, in real life, you know, if you were a pro gamer, you'd probably end up watching streams to see how other pro gamers play. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. So, say for example, the mushroom guy there is probably my favourite champ. So I could watch Wingman Fantastic. Now, the problem is, again, lack of information telling me what I will actually gain from watching Wingman Fantastic. It just says I am learning, as you're about to see. So at 40% it will say learning. That's great. Thank you for telling me I'm learning stuff, but it's not telling me what I'm learning. It's not even displaying what I've learned after it. So I've got to kind of guess what I've learned. Okay, so at the moment I've learned a little bit of communication, a little bit of decision making, a little bit of farming, a little bit of teamwork. That's fine. So at least I know it does increase stats a little bit, but it doesn't seem to increase champions at all. It doesn't increase your knowledge of champions or anything like that. It just increases stats. And to be quite honest, you can gain that in game anyway, even if you lose. So to me, this seems wasted unless it's actually displayed properly. So other people are going to notice that and think, well, this isn't worth it no more, you know. Or it's not worth it to begin with because it doesn't display any information about what it actually does. Research. There's actually currently a huge game breaking bug with the speciality. If you learn all the specialities, bear in mind as well, it doesn't actually tell you what the specialities actually do and how they actually play a part in this game. It just gives you the speciality. You've learnt it, fantastic. You've got it. We don't care what you do with it, basically. You know. But if you was to learn all specialities, you can press the tab again and it will cause a game breaking bug. You can't exit the speciality and you can't learn anything. You'll be stuck on that window, so you're basically bugged. Very game breaking. Extremely game breaking. And as I said previously, that other research, that should probably be a bit higher. You know, it should be, there should be a lot, there should be a bigger wall. There should be a bigger wall, a barrier to entry for that particular room. Otherwise, people are going to keep buying it as soon as they've got the money for it. At least with a higher barrier of entry, they've got more chance of actually having more capital to start off with. So maybe that's something that could be done about that. That's if the games room is still going to be anti, you can't get into your own room no more. Maybe it won't. I mean, at the end of the day, I know there's supposed to be quite a big update to include some new features, but I'm talking about the now. Yeah, so that's a major concern. Profile. This is actually probably the best info we've got at the moment. We've got all this info about our mental stats, our gamer stats, our role-specific things, whether we're amateur, whether we're pro, our role. It even tells us what fingers we have, what specialities we have, and our best champions and how well we do with them. This is fantastic. This is actually the best screen we've got because it gives you all the information that we need to know right there and then. Fantastic. Yeah. It would actually be nice with this if we could just hover over them and see how these are influenced. Not a lot of people are into the MOBA gaming, yet they might still want to play this type of game. At least have some tooltips that say itemization. This is how good you are itemizing for your builds, etc., etc. Farming. This is how good you are at farming money. Last hits. This is how good you are at last hitting minions, etc., etc. Okay, so talents. Oh, devs, please don't do this. Please. So, the one thing I hate more than missing features, it's features that are in the game that are missing anyway. Yeah? This is like saying, oh, we've got all these shiny things, but you don't get to see one bit of it. It's annoying. Please stop. I understand you're trying to build hype to say, oh, we've got this in store, but to the average player, this is just like a kick in the balls, you know. Okay, you got all this cool talent system, but we can't play with it. Great. Career. This is actually one of the cool things. I actually love the way that this is implemented. So obviously, with the career, you gain a salary per month, which is really cool. But with a majority of the team, it seems that I don't know if it's buggy or not, but for some reason, on some teams, you'll never actually get to play a game. You just have to watch their main player. So, for example, if I was maining mid, and the team had already got a main mid, then I would end up just constantly watching him. And the only problem that I see with that is that I'm actually not doing anything with the team. So, and not just that, I mean the way it's done, the way you just watch the game. It doesn't seem to give you anything at all. There's no info saying that it gives you any stats to increase any stats because you've been watching how these players play. It gives you absolutely sod all. It gives you no information whatsoever what that actually does. And to me, it just looks like a waste of energy. So it's just an annoying tidbit, if you get what I mean. Also, there seems to be, I don't know, again, it might be a bug, it might be the way it is, but for some reason, on certain teams, with some events, you get strange events like the team has a lesser opinion of you because you did really shit on the last game, yet you haven't even played a game with them yet. It makes no sense. They really respect you more because you are doing really brilliant for the team, yet you haven't even played a game with the team yet. It makes zero sense. It's just weird. It's as if it hasn't been programmed properly or anything like. I don't know. Bearing in mind, Dev, this is not a dig at you. I'm not saying this is just stuff that seems not to make any sense whatsoever, especially the way the information is presented. It's good that we get some of the information, but the information that we are presented with is not useful to the player. It gives us no useful information about what we should do. Some does, some of it is, but a majority of it isn't. House, again, you're teasing us. You're teasing us with this. You really are. Okay, we can get better houses, but what's the point? Because we can't buy it. It's just rubbing our faces in it, devs. Don't do it. The news, I actually do like these news bulletins. This is fantastic, especially this. I actually love this. This is great because this actually randomizes every game. So every game will be different. You'll have a different. You'll have the different OP champion, and you'll also have a different underpowered champion. This is great. This actually gives me visual information of whether the champion that I'm going to play is going to be any good competitively. That's fantastic. It would be nice if it would show you why it was so OP. Maybe it's a certain skill it's got that makes it so OP. The problem is, again, lack of information. I don't understand why this lizard dude is it lizard or slug dude is OP. All I know is that it is OP and I should use it. But that's not good. You know what I mean? It's not useful. Okay, now this is probably going to be the last little bit of the video. I want to talk about how this folder thing actually works. Currently, it's really bugging me, this bit is. So, right from the start, you can pick a champion. Yeah. Now, it is nice that they've got tags. I know I know in the older versions they never used to have tags. So at least you have some idea of what that particular champion does. So obviously we're going to go with a support champion. So let's say we go with what was that popular? Where's that slug one gone? Here we go. So we're going to go with the healer. So the slug's a healer. Yeah. Novardar. I wish these was easiest to pronounce. But yeah, we're going to go with the slug dude because why not? Yeah. He's OP and he's a healer. That's great. Okay, so this screen puzzles me to death. I don't understand what taking these are going to help me with. This one here says focus on working better with your team. Now I can take an educated guess and say that this is probably going to increase my teamwork stat. But it doesn't tell me whether that does or not. Champion knowledge, I'm guessing that's going to I'm guessing that's going to focus more on the experience of my champion. And I suppose this one is going mainly like Rambo style kind of game and really focusing on my actual champion rather than teamwork. I'm guessing that's how it works, but it's very hard to tell because there's no feedback. The only feedback is, of course, focus on getting better with your team or being a Rambo type. But it doesn't tell me enough information whether I can make that educated yes or no, if you know what I mean. I'm just gonna go with the middle. Okay. Now, a lot of LoL players are going to tell you what's wrong with this without me even telling you. So, can anybody point out what was wrong with that then? What was wrong with that then was the banned champions. Banned champions don't matter in this game. Do you know why? Because I was able to pick my champion straight off the bat. It makes 0 sense why there's banned champions at all. In solo, anyway, I can understand why there might be when you're in a team, because you don't actually have direct control over what champion you pick. But in solo queue, where you do have a choice of what champion you pick, having these banned champions here make no sense. Because you get to pick your champion before any of this pick phase goes. What would have made more sense is you get to pick your champion when it comes to your turn to pick. That would have made more sense, because by then there would probably already be 1 or 2 banned champions. That would have made more sense. And that actually lies into the second problem. No team in the right mind would always pick an AD carry as first pick. Ever. Because you'd want counter picks, and of course, you might have a person who's first pick that usually plays support, etc, etc. So this makes no sense of why you'd have this particular line. It's always the ADC who picks first. That should never be the case, because otherwise, if you do incorporate this system of picking your champions when there's banned champions available, it means that top lane are going to get shit on all the time, because they're going to probably end up with having the most banned champions. And ADC are going to be like, ha ha ha, I always get to pick my champion. It makes 0 sense, devs. It really does. It makes 0 sense why this is the case. I'm hoping that gets changed. I really do. Because at the moment, it makes 0 sense. Okay. This is good though. I do like that you get an overview of your team. I don't understand whether this, obviously your perception of team kind of based on your stats, so obviously my stats are shit, but I still detect that this is a full AD team. That kind of doesn't make too much sense in a way, because you always seem to give the same kind of team comp perception. I'm hoping that it's not fully featured yet. I'm assuming that's what it is, but at the moment it doesn't matter what your stats are, you always seem to guess right anyway, so I don't know, it's just weird. And this leads me to this bit. This bit is so annoying, because I've seen what the previous version of this was like. In my opinion, the previous version was better. Do you know why? Because you only used to pick your mentality. You then had random events happen whilst you're playing the game. Yeah? These random events could be anything from you see that your you see that the enemy AD carry is weak. You can either tell your teammates that you see his weakness and focus him, or not, and depending on what you choose would influence the outcome. That's fantastic. I love stuff like that. That's actually one thing that Game Dev Tycoon doesn't actually do, is stuff like random events. Random events like whilst you're creating the game. In this case, you're having random events while you're playing the game. That's fantastic. That's new in this type of genre. That's actually quite new. So I was really looking forward to doing something like that. However, for some reason in the new versions, that's been completely stripped, and I'm questioning why. Because that is such a good system of having that. It's new, it's fresh, it's unique, but yet you just scrapped it. I have no idea why. Maybe you're fleshing it out, but I don't know. It's weird. And instead you've just done a generic thing instead, and it's horrible. The worst thing about it is that there's no information telling you what these will influence. In fact, the only thing that tells you is the mentality. It tells you obviously aggressive, offensive. So you'll actually try and attempt creative, risky plays. Now that's good to me, because if I was, say for example, an early game team, I would know that I should be aggressive, because obviously I want to try and win as early as possible, and then I can derive from that You know, all the other stuff I should be doing, so pushing the lanes as soon as possible, etc., etc. This is great because this is actually telling me what I should be doing. So, for example, I'm just going to go for an all-round balanced playstyle because we're all AD. But then you come to the lane phase and team fights, and you know all the other types of choices that the roles play, and there's no information whatsoever of what this is going to influence. Okay, stay with the ADC. Well, generally a support would do that anyway. So why is that even a choice? A RAS support, you normally do that anyway. I suppose some supports are not as good as a RAS as others, but again, here's the problem. Because there's no information to the champions what each champion does, how can I tell whether this champion is good at harassing support? How do I know that this champion is going to be good with just roaming with the jungler instead of not with the ADC? There's no information whatsoever. I have to guess. And the problem with guessing is that it's completely random. Now, it would be good if I did have to guess that I got some meaningful feedback from it. And here's the problem. I get no meaningful feedback from it. At all. That's the problem. I mean, what's this bar? I have no idea what this bar is. The game doesn't tell you what this bar is. Is that my urine level? I mean, I don't know. Is that? I have no idea. But as you can see, this is probably the most. This is the screen that pisses me off the most. Okay, I understand. Okay, we got defeated. My game score was 3. I did shit. I know that. Does the game tell me why I did shit? Fuck no, it doesn't. It just tells me early game that the jungler did well, that their enemy ADC did well, that they got first Guardian, that they got the first team fight. You know, I got an assist of 11, deaths of 8. But does the game tell me why this happened? Of course it doesn't. It just tells me 2 strengths of usually the team that you don't give a shit about. It's annoying because, in my opinion, I've seen the older version of this particular screen, and it showed you all the stats. It showed you how good your itemization was and how good your pushing was. Now that kind of information is useful to me. Do you know why? Because if I see that my farm was low, then I know next time to be more defensive and be more passive and just farm. That's good information to me. This information is about as useful as, I don't know. It's not useful at all. All it's telling me is I've got some fans, yay. I got some EP, yay, and that I lost. That's it. It tells me no meaningful information about the choices that I made previously, and that's what it boils down to, guys. It's just the lack of feedback. This game has so much of a lack of feedback that I don't know what I should be doing. You know, it just seems to me it's random. And the worst thing about it is that it does feel way too random because of this lack of feedback. Now, this is the thing, guys. I'm not trying to attack the devs. That's not what this video is about. This video is about addressing the concerns that I have with the game, ways to improve it. Because as a player, this game is not fun. Not fun at the moment. At all. Because of the fact that we have no feedback from anything. Now, obviously the bugs, I can understand the bugs. Yeah? Bugs are bugs. It's early access. I understand that. But having no info whatsoever about the choices that I'm making, it feels pointless to play. It really does. And that's what it boils down to. So, yeah. I'm hoping that the next update will address some of these concerns. And yes, we will cover the next update, because at the end of the day, I really do like this game. I like what it could become. But currently, it's, I don't know, it's just something I just want to stay away from at the moment, because the lack of info, lack of anything meaningful. Anyway, I hope the devs do end up watching this, and I really want this game to be so much better than it currently is. And yeah, I'll end it there. I'll see you later, guys.